All right. Good morning, everybody. We are ready to get this party started. We actually started before you, so I hope you don't mind. We got a great show today. It is September 23rd, and today we are going to look at both the beautiful and the ugly side of politics in the office. Whether you're managing stakeholders or campaigning for your next role, we're going to hit it today. So, first of all, let's do some introductions. See here. We got one's going to be here in just a minute, but let's get started. First of all, this guy shows up 3 hours early, armed with a whiteboard and an AI playbook. This is, for the first time on Product Coffee, Nkem Nwankwo. Got it. Hey, welcome. And let's see here. Let's jump on to this lady has got the personas. She is the personas pioneer who loves to talk about everybody's underpants. Welcome, Tamara Adlin, author of The Persona Life Cycle. And next up, she was detained by ICE before it was cool, and now she runs product for AEG Presents. It's Erinne Mejia, Memories. And I'm Jason Brett. I'm not cool enough to have an MC introduce me. And in just a moment, we'll have Bruce McCarthy joining us. He's finishing up a workshop, and he'll jump in here with us to get into this. So, some folks say that they are above office politics, and that's like saying you're above gravity, but you're still going to hit the floor at some point. So, the question for today is, should product managers play the game or try to rise above it? And we're going to start with Nkem and just kind of jump over to you. And let me ask you, you've had product roles everywhere from literally from John Deere to AI startups. So what's your view? Does politics change with scale or just the stakes? Oh, hang on. Let me make sure you can unmute. There you go. Try that again.
There you go. I'm in.
All
Thank
right.
you. Thank you. All right. So here's my general take. First of all, as far as scale goes, from an organization, one person to 100K type company there's no organization that does not have politics. Basically, every single one has some in some way, shape, or form. And even in my own family, I'm a father of two. We have politics here as well too, right? My son and daughter go back and forth trying to manipulate us, mom and dad, right? So with that said, I think that it's really important for product leaders to really understand the political environment that they're actually stepping into. I think that you have failed in your interview process as a leader if you don't have a general understanding of the political climate that you're about to step into. I really feel like this should be vetted during the interview process, because you're kind of interviewing the company as much as they're interviewing you. Yeah, I think that at the top level, from what I've seen, you need to understand, hey, what kind of company am I actually joining? Is it going to be a product-led company? Is it sales-led? Is it engineering-led? And all of these different types of companies have their own politics and their own types of way that they actually run. And they're going to change who influences who as you kind of interact between the different parties within that organization. So I think that is the base level starting pack there. And I would love to get into some more details, but I'll let everyone else chat through that.
All right, cool. Well, thank you. So yeah, so you're saying understanding the culture that you're walking into is a huge part of understanding how to manage the relationships and build it forward. And I see we've got Bruce in here, so let's introduce Bruce McCarthy. He has built businesses out of Legos, and he fuels them with beer, but he still finds time to write the book on roadmaps. It's Bruce McCarthy, our friend from Product Culture. Bruce, you have been wrangling stakeholders since before politics had a hashtag. Is office politics a game of chess, or is it more like a game of Twister? Need to unmute.
I had an analogy and it wasn't quite that in my mind. And I think we all kind of want to join a company and have it be like the Star Trek future, right? It's like not only are we working on high-tech stuff, but we're all a bunch of smart, competent people, all trying to do the right thing, all trying to right wrongs and make the world better together. And we're all working together. And actually, when it's working well, there's a lot to be said for that. It's like that a lot. every once in a while, you find out that it's not just Star Trek, it's also simultaneously Game of Thrones. That underlying current is always there, and it comes out when times are tough, when the quarterly numbers are not being met, when we're facing a possible layoff, when somebody is going to get fired, uh, and you're not sure who. These things are always there underneath the surface, and you kind of have to bear both scenarios in mind at all times. You kind of have to. People say, hope for the best, plan for the worst. It's like that. Work together collaboratively, openly, honestly, but be aware that people have motivations that they're not necessarily saying out loud. Watch for clues that some sort of politics is going on when somebody makes an argument that doesn't quite add up. And it's obvious that they know it doesn't quite add up. They're advocating for something that doesn't seem like the right thing to do or seems contradictory to the team's best interest. Why are they doing that? Calling them out in front of the rest of the group and saying, why are you doing this, is probably not the right way to go. Being aware of our shorthand for it is the politics will give you a clue about where to go with that. But I want to change the notion of the word politics to simply understanding what's important to people. What's important to people in addition to we're all a bunch of smart people trying to do the right thing. Well, we are also a bunch of self-interested people, right? We also want that promotion or not to get shoot out with the layoff, or maybe to get shoot out with the layoff with a good package. We all want our department to succeed. We all want our product to get more attention from the sales team. All of these things are true at the same time. And so I've made a career out of saying the political things out loud to make them a little bit more safe. Just let me give you an example. I was working with this one executive team on OKRs, and there was clearly a tension between the product team and the sales team. The product team was complaining about the sales team that they were just so deal driven and just so quarterly focused, and they couldn't see the long term. And I had to point out that's what we pay them for. That's how they make their money. We deliberately set up the incentive system to get them to focus on closing deals now, as opposed to making sure that we have a pipeline of deals for next year. So it's perfectly normal that would be the case. And it's perfectly normal that the product team is focused differently. And we have to find a way to openly resolve that. Could be called politics, or it could be called just calling the situation for what it is. Is that fair, Jason?
Yeah. So your advice is literally to say the quiet part out loud.
Yes.
Wow.
Yes.
Love it. Thank you. And there's so much more to go there, but I do want to kind of get through everybody. And I also want to make sure that everybody who's in the Zoom audience knows that you're part of this discussion as well. As we come through this kind of first round, we'd love to hear your take on this question as well. But if anyone can call out the absurdity of pretending politics doesn't exist, it's Tamara. Tamara, where do you stand?
Where do I stand? So I have this phrase I've been using for a long time called corporate underpants, and that's the visible panty lines in product where your organization structure shows up on your interface or your website. And
Josh is actually blushing in the studio right now.
That's okay. I bet he's wearing underpants too. You just can't see him. What do I have to say about politics? I think I'm just a slightly different angle, which is that there is a moment in your career as you're becoming more senior, one salient moment. I mean, there's lots where you realize that data doesn't work the way it's supposed to. And when you realize that data doesn't work the way it's supposed to, even when it's perfect, and I could talk about that for hours, then you realize something else is bigger than data. And if you realize something else is bigger than data, what that is some element of the decision-making process that's above you. That's the simple way, one element of politics is to think to yourself is, how are decisions made above me, right? Understanding that, either you say that's above my pay grade and I can't impact that, or you say to yourself, I'm already part of that because I'm here. I'm just like a feature that's not being used. Nobody's clicking on me. I'm still in the system. I'm around. If you click me, I'd have better stuff. So why aren't people clicking you? So it's a salad of understanding all of that stuff and then also understanding yourself as a product. There's something about you as you become more senior that is not usable to your colleagues in the right way. It has nothing to do with data. Data won't solve it. And if you ignore politics, then my analogy is like the Greek gods, right? So we're mortals and we focus on doing our mortal things and getting better and better at our mortal things. But if Poseidon and Zeus have an argument and it spawns a tornado that comes through, we're like, oh, a tornado. It ruins everything we've been doing. It doesn't matter how good we are at it. Wouldn't made a difference if we were better and better at our processes, right? It's just, it's a totally different level. So either you look at that and say, oh, it's the gods. Nothing I can do except pray, which in our case equals complain to each other. Or you say, there's an interesting puzzle. How can I help them give me something I need?
So to sum it up, it is clear. You're saying clearly understand, do I have the ability to impact success or not? And if I do, understand how I can do so and make sure that I'm articulating that so people do click on me appropriately.
I mean, I guess I would just change that a bit. You absolutely do have the ability. You're just not looking in the right direction. The puzzle is not right in front of you. It's a little bit above you. And so if it's not working right now, that's okay. It's another really challenging design problem. It's part of becoming more senior in our field that you learn to look up and figure out what do those users want and need out of me and my team? How am I not delivering that? And how is that causing problems in my results? And just one big point, data doesn't fix it.
Okay.
I love Tamara, how you're using the language of product to talk about politics, because we all in product, we think a lot about and read books about and take courses and get trained on how to manage customers, how to do discovery interviews, how to make sure you understand customers' underlying needs and do root cause analysis and don't just take feature requests. All of these things apply to the users inside your organization too.
Yep.
If we just turn those switches on at the right time, all those skills for understanding the other person and figuring out what it's going to take to make them successful, which is going to make us successful, apply just as much.
Awesome.
I think we're missing one person from our video stage.
And Kim had to step away for a minute. He'll be back in just a
okay.
moment.
Sorry.
No problem. And
Go ahead.
so Aaron, let's switch over to you. If delicious handmade pastries win the political game, you've got nothing to worry about. But where do you see politics actually rear its head the hardest throughout all of your experience?
Ooh, I think Bruce hit it right, is when things are difficult. I think, going through organizational changes, divestitures, acquisitions, downturns in the market, that's when people show up their most fear and their most moments of control. I think we've kind of touched around this, but as product managers, we're type A, we're highly motivated. We're always going to have that type of politics because we all have kind of self-motivation. And so who better to play this game of strategic chess? But I like what you said, Jason, of Twister, right? So it's us. We've done empathy maps and we do empathy maps all day long, to Bruce's point, to understand our customers. But how about we understand our stakeholders, our leaders, our lateral colleagues, or even those that we influence below us. And so I think it really is just finding the motivation at that moment in time, especially in those difficult times. And typically I see it as it rears its head as fear and control. But really, politics means different communication styles. And so how do you communicate and get your idea forward in this environment where people are communicating differently? I think if you ignore it, you're stifling innovation. And what are we here to do as product managers? We're here to innovate and we're here to take the business forward. So if you completely ignore what is quote unquote politics, you're going to not bring your idea forward. So when you're doing those empathy maps, Tamara hit the nail on the head. You've got to figure out how decisions are being made above you and how your idea is going to bring value to those who are making the decisions that are bringing the business forward. So you've got to do that empathy map of understanding how to pitch that idea up and out. So you might have stakeholders, the sales organization. We understand their motivation is to get paid, but guess what? When they get paid, you get paid. So the more friends you are with the sales organization, the better your life becomes and the more influence that you can have and bringing your ideas to market. So you have to communicate differently to the sales organization because they have different motivations. You've got to then compete with your peers. And that's sometimes the most difficult part when you have these type A folks trying to bring the business forward in a difficult market. You're going to get challenges. And I think the best way that I've moved through it is it's very easy to gossip. It's very easy to talk to others. It's very easy to kind of run your mouth outwardly. But if you actually sit down with that person one-on-one, it's the most difficult thing you can do. But if you communicate where you're coming from and they can communicate where they're coming from, 9 times out of 10, nobody has malicious intent. And if they have malicious intent, you can't help that. It's really that they're operating from a place of fear, and you might be operating from a place of fear. And when you have that mutual understanding together, you can move through it and forward. There's nothing more than I hate than office politics. But I think as you grow as a leader, if you've mastered that game, you've mastered the game of communication and influence, and you can actually make it your superpower. So while I say I play the game of chess very strategically, it's that I really have empathy as a product manager for my stakeholders, my bosses, my subordinates, and my peers to drive the business forward.
I love how you express that. I love that. I love how the convergence of thoughts here is really coming together around this concept of understanding your stakeholders, understanding the other players, your users in the organization, and helping them achieve, understanding what success looks like to them. One of my favorite, when I first joined IBM, I was at a design thinking workshop out in Austin, and Phil Gilbert, who was the general manager of IBM Design Thinking at the time, came out and did a little talk with us. And a question around politics or people just basically doing stupid corporate things came up. And his answer was, look, almost everybody, as you just said, Aaron, is trying to do the right thing. They just all have different metrics. And getting into what those metrics are and understanding those metrics helps you understand the motivation and it helps you communicate more clearly, exactly as you're all saying. So I want to love the tee up and, as I said, the convergence around these ideas. And now it's time to open up the floor and let's have some discussion. This is not just a webinar, it's a meetup. We've got everybody out there on Zoom. I want to encourage you to turn on your cameras. If you're new to Product Coffee, we would love to introduce you. And I do want to give a quick, we got a bunch of new faces in Product Coffee and a bunch of new check-ins. We've got Caleb, Danielle, Walker, Danny. Thank you for being here. Glad to have you here today. And I would encourage everybody to turn on your camera. We would love to welcome you to introduce yourself. Tell us what has your attention. And I really would love to hear any of you. What's the most political move you've seen in a workplace, and did it work? And that's kind of a surprise question for our panel, but let's start off, see if any of you wants to kind of jump in and take that. Nkem?
Thanks. All right. I'm gonna be a little bit self-congratulatory here and actually nominate something that I did a few positions ago. We had this new product that was under development, and I actually really felt strongly that we should take it in a different direction. I did a ton of customer discovery, a ton of research and all of that. And the goal was pretty clear, the direction that I wanted to shift it to. It just made sense. It's one of those things where basically the use case and the pain point that was felt from customers was so just apparent there. But the rest of the company was already on this path to the left. So essentially thinking through how to actually get this going, what I did was talk to each individual stakeholder on the exec team individually there. To Erinne's point, on a one-on-one basis, basically pitching the idea and getting their feedback as to what things I should tweak, what they're specifically looking for, because to many of the panelists' points today, sales has a different opinion, customer success has a different opinion, engineering has theirs, product has theirs, customer support has theirs, finance has their own opinion, and all of that, right? So I went and individually talked to, I guess, the powers that be and got their kind of feedback there. Before, and this might be a little backhanded or a little sneaky over here, before I actually pitched it to my boss, to the point that he basically said, "Hey, I've actually heard rumblings of this from my peers already. So I feel like I can't even say no to this suggestion now," because he already picked up on it, because I had already been circulating this idea with his peers at that level there. So I think really that was kind of the refinement of my idea and how I should actually pitch it to my manager, going through the individual channels, then back channeling it before I got a nice, shiny, and polished to actually present to my manager. And by the time I actually went to him, he said he couldn't really say no there. So that's one way to actually go about it. Now you actually have to understand the political climate of that too. Is your manager the type to get offended by that and all of that? But yeah, that's one example in my past that I actually saw.
This is the classic move of pre-alignment, right?
Mm-hmm.
You're going to have the meeting for approval of the thing. And so you make sure you get to all the key stakeholders one-on-one, just as Erinne said, before you have that meeting. And then you almost don't have to have that meeting. As you said, the person in charge is just going to say, well, I don't feel like I can say no now because everybody's already lined up.
And
Um,
you talked
that's
about that in your first book, in Product Roadmaps Relaunch. You talked a lot about shuttle diplomacy and kind of
right.
drawing back to the Kissinger moves.
Right. So that does come from Henry Kissinger back in the 70s, where he was trying to negotiate a ceasefire between Israel and 5 different Arab countries around them. None of them would talk to Israel directly. So he literally got on an airplane shuttle and went back and forth between the capitals of all those countries and was the go-between to meet with them individually to get them to agree to the terms of a ceasefire, which worked. And I love that because it seemed like the perfect analogy of what you did in Nkem. Then that's been a staple technique ever since my boss, the VP of product, in my very first product manager job, I watched him do it. I watched him go from office to office around the building, and talk to each person for like 10 minutes with his legal pad. And that just made all of the official meetings go really super smoothly. The superpower or shortcut version of that is when you also figure out, is this a sales-led organization or finance-led or whatever, and you realize there are really maybe only 1 or 2 stakeholders that actually matter. And you don't have to talk to everybody. You can just talk to them. I had that, I realized this one company I worked at, I reported to the CEO and I figured, well, he's my boss and he's the CEO. So if I please him, everything is fine. But then thing after thing that I proposed got shot down, always by the CFO. My boss, the CEO, was fine with these things, but the CFO had really a very specific way that he thought, and I needed to present any case that I had his way.
Yep.
So once I figured that out, I didn't even bother going to my boss anymore. Like you, I figured out who I needed to talk to first, and it was only this one guy. I wanted to make a pricing change. I wrote it up, as an ROI, all the logic, all the numbers, put it in a spreadsheet, sent it to him, walked down to his office. In 10 minutes, we had a decision.
Very cool. Josh, you wanted to jump in here as well.
Yeah, so a couple of things come to mind, and I wrote them down. First off, I mean, some great examples, and honestly, you're kind of leading right into this, especially with the example you just had. Conflict creates opportunity for collaboration. If we realize that early on, then we can catch things before they're typically a problem. And combined with that, what Kissinger did as well is, I mean, he lived by that nobody cares what you know until they know that you care. Him personally being there created that bridge. He literally was a bridge builder. And if you combine that with nobody's smarter than everybody, he literally brought everybody together to create opportunities for people to work together and come to a consensus, knowing that they were heard, knowing that they were valued. And also in situations where the politics have gotten a little bit out of control, if we remember that our character is defined by what we do when things are hard versus when they're easy, we can literally be the person that creates safe harbor, and we create opportunities for people to safely say what's going on, to build collaboration and to build consensus and just become really influential. May not be the leader, but become the person that creates that opportunity. And we do that by making sure that we're focused on value and results, not I want, I think, I feel, I need. If we can help people that we're in conflict with or perceived to be in conflict with understand, hey, you're valuable. We need you to make sure that we're making a great decision here. We got to stay focused on this. If we can help them feel valued and heard, shockingly, collaboration and consensus comes so much faster. Everything you guys are saying, it's dead on. But literally, I'm sitting here thinking of things that smart people have said to me that say the same things. So, yeah, you got a great panel here.
Yeah, excellent. Thank you. And that's a great circle up too. Let's see if we've got anybody out here. Let's say hello to. Hey, I would love to welcome Clay. Is it Clay or Clayton Hostetter? Welcome to Product Coffee.
Appreciate that. This is my first time here, so super excited, learning a lot already.
Super glad to have you.
I go by either Clay or Clayton, so either one's fine.
All right. Well, tell us what has your attention today, or what your thoughts are on this topic. Either one, you can go either way.
Yeah. I actually wanted to comment on the idea of the story example of the CEO and having to go through the CFO and just tailoring the way that you're presenting a message. I want to throw out there, and this is potentially sidetracking, I don't mean to. But one thing that I've heard recently, and I completely agree with, is that small talk at the beginning of a meeting can be so valuable in determining who the major stakeholders are. A lot of people, and I was this exact same way early on in my career. I wanted to get straight to the point, get this done, get this meeting over with, and move on. I have other things to tackle, right? I would just dive straight into the material, but spending that extra time to just bring things up. How was the weekend? And then seeing where does that conversation naturally shift between stakeholders, especially if you're newer into a company or newer as in the product world, having that way to identify who is there and who you should be tailoring to. That to me has been a technique that's served pretty well.
Very good. Welcome. And I forgot to ask you, tell us where you're from, Clayton, and what your current role or most recent role is.
Yeah. So right now I'm working as a manager of customer experience. Before that was a senior AI product manager, both with FinQuery here in the Atlanta area.
Yeah.
Great company.
Yeah, fantastic company. Well, welcome. So glad to have you here. Glad you could join us. Today, we are going to dig into the career networking game. And this came from a conversation that we were having inside the Product Coffee Team Slack a few weeks ago, where we were talking about the notion of elevator pitches and networking meetings and so on and so forth. And full disclosure, and this, I rarely give endorsements, but I am I'm spending money on this endorsements. We have lots of sponsors that I'm really proud of, but I want everybody. Josh McAfee, who's with us in the studio, is the best-selling Wall Street Journal and USA Today best-selling author of a book called Measure Up, and it's about how to really win in the career development game and developing your own career, finding that next role and moving up the ladder. And Josh put together a coaching program that I've enrolled in as well. And as I was talking to Josh about the program, I realized that one of the things that he teaches is about communicating your value in really succinct, powerful ways, really supplants this notion of the elevator speech. And I really wanted to give Josh the opportunity to come here. So we've got also with us, we've got here in the studio, we've got Judy Price, and her last startup was a tech startup. She really put the rock in yacht rock, but she did it from the yacht. So that's pretty cool too. We're really glad to have Judy here with us. Judy is the Vice President of Business Development for Humans Doing, which is a staffing agency based here in Atlanta. And then we also have on the line, we'll see how vocal he can be. We're going to have John with us today, but he's been fighting the COVID powers, so he's going to be a little bit quieter, but we're glad to have John Field, who is on the board of Career Whisper as well. on the line today as well. He may chime in as well. So I want to welcome you, Josh, and let's just really get into the notion of how networking really can feel like speed dating in your career and how people do it so badly so often.
Yeah, I mean it's akin to tap dancing in a landmine field. I mean it can be a little intimidating and just honestly, we have to be vulnerable to do it well, and that's not something that's comfortable, especially when people are maybe in a career transition or considering a career transition or really wondering whether they're valuable or not. The voices in our head are typically I want, I think, I feel, I need. That hierarchy of needs kicks in, and we see so often people get so focused on I want, I think, I feel, I need walking into a room that they completely miss the opportunity to connect. They completely miss the opportunity to potentially add values in ways that they're overpowered by that. And they completely miss opportunities to be a little uncomfortable and see things and explore things versus staying in their comfort zone in and around people that they already know or feel are safe.
Which is ironic, especially in the product management world, because so much of what we do is trying to figure out what our customer wants and thinks and feels and needs. I mean, how many of those empathy exercises, we were talking about empathy exercises in the first cup, where we think about the thinking, doing, feeling, saying type exercises. It's the same thing that we do professionally, but we don't do it so well for ourselves.
I agree with you, and I find it ironic, and it's really exciting. It's really focusing in on product management. When I see somebody who's a product manager and they're struggling with some of this internally, once we get them to look at things from the perspective of, hey, your whole focus is on the thing that's most important to the entire organization. Sales needs it, ops needs it, marketing needs it, dev needs it. You literally have the ability to be the one that brings everybody together so they can see things from each other's perspective. And that can create so many amazing opportunities for conversations in a networking session that if you do it right, you can leave everybody just literally sitting there saying, tell me more, tell me more, tell me more. Because you can speak all 7 different languages from the departments and help them to see things and bring people together in amazing ways.
Tell us a little bit more about what it means to do it right.
Happy to, but first let's talk a little bit about how people do it wrong.
Okay.
So walking into a room, trying to figure out what you can get out of the room, it's amazing what you'll get when you focus on helping other people and adding value. It's also amazing what you won't get if you focus on what you want, think, feel, or need out of an organization. It's the old adage, if you ask for advice, you'll typically get money. If you ask for money, you'll typically get advice. It's the same thing when you're walking into a networking room. So walking in without expectations, just trying to figure out where you can add value, even if it's not yours in particular, is huge.